Saturday is the Smokey Grey football game. Are you tired of the Smokey Greys?
You are Locked On Vols, your daily podcast on the Tennessee Volunteers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Happy Tuesday morning and welcome into Locked On Vols, your number one spot for Tennessee football news and entertainment, your number one listen and watch each and every single morning. I am your host, Cain. Can't thank you enough for being here. Appreciate the support. Appreciate your time. And you know it, we're a part of Locked On Podcast Network that is now the number one sports podcast network. How about that? And it's all thanks to you, certainly you everydayers. Fun show coming up. Again, I'm Cain, a member of the VolQuest.com team here in town and your host of Locked On Vols. Mailbag questions, everydayers. Get to hear from you in segment number 3, a fall baseball report. A lot of you guys have been asking, what's the Tennessee baseball team look like now in the Josh Elander era? Going to talk about that in segment number 2, but first, the Smokey Grey uniforms have made their triumphant return, and they will be debuted. This iteration of them will be debuted Saturday, an Armed Forces Day as well, and that's going to be against New Mexico State here at Neyland Stadium. So, my simple question is this: are you tired of the Smokey Greys? So, Smokey Greys originally made their appearance back in it was the Butch Jones era, right? I mean, that a couple of different times. They wore them against Florida. I remember that. Wore them against Georgia. It felt like Tennessee lost those games every time they kind of wore those jerseys, and it felt like they wore those jerseys to kind of get a little bit more juice, right? And then Tennessee wore the jerseys, brought them back in 2022, wore them down on the Bayou against LSU, and Tennessee, of course, just smoked them, and that was a really, really nice win. Wore them next year against I forgot who they wore them against in 2023. Last year wore them against ETSU, I think, in 2023. Last year wore them in a non-conference game, and this year wearing them in a non-conference game. My point is, they don't wear them against big-time competition much anymore, with the exception of 2022's LSU game. I'm not the biggest uniform guy. I'm just not. I never really have been, but I understand I'm in the minority there because you guys care about uniforms. You guys care about that. Think it's a big deal. To me, it's just is what it is. Nothing beats the orange on white. But again, I'm 1,000 years old, so I recognize I'm in the minority. But I don't dislike the Smokey Greys. Now, I think the Smokey Greys, the one that they wore in 2022, were easily the best. Oh, they wore the Smokey Greys against Austin Peay in 2023, I believe. Anyway, I think the ones they wore in 2022 were the best. I think they looked the best. I thought they were sharp. You had the TriStar Love in 2023. Last year's, I'm kind of forgetting what those look like, and this year's are tipping the cap to the Armed Forces and, of course, to Davy Crockett. And this is kind of what they look like. If you remember, of course, they released these over the summer, but now that we're in game week when Tennessee's actually going to wear them, a little bit of a refresher here. This is what they look like. So if you're watching on YouTube, you see the back of the jersey here. It's going to say Tennessee on the back. It'll say the person's name, actually. You got the number, block numbering. You've got the Davy Crockett fridge sleeve type deal right there on the shoulder pad. You've got that also on the helmet. This is the fourth alternate in the fourth year of the Smokey Grey series, paying homage to the United States Armed Forces during Tennessee's Salute to Service game. That's right, Salute to Service. And this was a look designed in collaboration. We'll continue to show more pictures here in a moment. With the Tennessee Military Department, the 134th Air Refueling Wing in East Tennessee, and the Tennessee National Guard. So the traditional Smokey Grey helmet with a black face mask and the Smoky Mountain silhouetted around the shell. This season features the Davy stripe down the middle on both sides of an orange helmet stripe, a tribute to Davy Crockett. So you see it right there. There's the Davy stripe right around that orange stripe down the middle of the helmet right there. The stripe, according to Tennessee, is a modern take on Crockett's famous fringe uniform in gray flanks, flanking the orange center stripe of the helmet that is predominantly displayed on the sleeves of the jersey. The Star Vols also making a return for the first time this century, according to the Vols, on the front bumper of the helmet. So you see that Star Vols right there on the front, VOLS, and the O's got the star in there, and it's making a return for the first time this century, which is pretty unique right there. So you look at the front of the jersey, and I don't think we don't have an up-close view of it, but this is the best I can do. 2025 uniform has volunteers across the chest, just above the new stencil numbers. The orange block numeral is outlined in gray. The Davy stripe is also used on the jersey sleeves above the Tennessee orange piping. I've already showed that picture right there. The two-tone gray used on the jersey and its pants. Let's get a look at the pants right here. A combination resembles a similar look of steel forged from military artillery. This is according to Tennessee's release back in the summer. Each stitch woven into the fabric of the uniform serves as a tribute to the state's rich military heritage. Sharp stencil numbers on the front and the back and the shoulders of the jersey, as well as the back of the helmet, are inspired by military standard font. So again, that's a look at the pants right there. And again, this is from the photo shoot over the summer where modeling those in front of the United States, Army and for the salute to service game for sure, and the chopper there. So yeah, I'm excited to see what these kind of look like. Again, here's another quote from the release from over the summer. One of the unique pieces of the project was the conception of the volunteer spirit, Tennessee TriStar logo, as a homage to the 134th Air Refueling Wing. The creative team brought all the elements to life during the content shoot in May, and those are the pictures I'm showing right now, to the service members of McGee-Tyson Air National Guard Base. So just right around the corner over there. They created them in collaboration with in-house creative agency 151 Creative alongside Tennessee's equipment staff and Nike to create the uniform. So, again, this is what they're going to look like on Saturday. If you're watching on YouTube, again, this is the back of the jersey. Here's a picture of the front of the jersey. Here's the pants. Here's the helmet. And I think they look pretty good. But, again, I'm not the biggest uniform guy, but they've been going in this 4-year series where they have a new Smokey Grey uniform every year. That's obviously going to end now because you're moving away from Nike and going back to Adidas. I haven't heard anything definitive, but I would assume that there's going to be a Smokey Grey alternate uniform for the football team in the future, probably for the baseball team because the baseball team wears that all the time. I don't know about probably softball. Softball's worn it before. I don't know about anybody else. I would assume that's going to be the case. I don't know for sure, but I'm fine with alternate uniforms. I don't have an issue with that. What I have an issue with is and I know it's a part of the series, and I mean, at some point it's just like, okay, guys, let's just put on Smokey Grey and let's go out there and let's do this thing. Like, they continue to change it and they continue to make tweaks and all that, and I know that they work really, really hard on that, and I'm excited to see this uniform. I think it's pretty cool. I just don't think that we need a new one every single year. That's just my opinion. So to answer my question in the cold open, no, I'm not tired of it. I don't think fans are tired of it either. Now, I do think we've reached a point in the season where everybody's frustrated about not making the playoffs right now. And, I saw somebody comment on Heupel's press conference on Monday, and I agree, but it's like his coach talk's just getting so annoying. Well, 3 weeks ago, it wasn't annoying because Tennessee was still in the playoff hunt. We're to that point now to where everybody, it's when you spend too much time with your best friend, it's like everything that they say gets on your nerves, right? We're kind of to that point in the season. They just need to get out there and play football. And they're going to go out there and they're going to beat New Mexico State by as much as they want to in these jerseys. But this is the game. They made that announcement back in July that it was going to be for the New Mexico State game, that it was going to be the salute to service game. They were going to pay tribute to the armed forces and all that, which is fantastic. I'm excited to see what they look like. I like the Davy Crockett, paying homage to him. With the fringe sleeve and all that on the helmet, on the sleeve, of course, and on the pants. I think that's pretty neat. But what say you? Do you guys like this uniform? Does it get you pumped up and ready to roll against the Aggies coming up on Saturday? Are you tired of the alternate jerseys? I don't think anybody's tired of the black jerseys. I know Tennessee just lost in them, but the black jerseys are cool, and I'm sure that Adidas is going to make a black jersey for the University of Tennessee for sure. So I'm excited to see what all that looks like in the transition from Nike back to Adidas. Obviously, Adidas has made Tennessee a premier kind of face of the franchise type program in their rundown. I think the money backs it up with that, and I'm excited to see what type of uniforms are going to make that transition as well. But I would assume a black uniform and probably some variation of a Smokey alternate as well is still going to be in there. But this is going to be the last Smokey Grey that you see in the Nike jersey, and you're going to see it this Saturday at Neyland Stadium against the Aggies of New Mexico State. So Like it, dislike it. What are your thoughts on that? Obviously, as always, support the troops. I know Veterans Day earlier this week, or actually Veterans Day today. Veterans Day is today, so can't thank our men and women of the armed services more and more and more for all the sacrifices that they have made to allow us to do what we love and live in this free country and, have all the liberties that we do. So, as always, thanks and continued prayers to our veterans. Armed forces, and Tennessee is going to certainly be saluting that on Saturday with this iteration of the Smokey Greys. All right, when we come back, what's the Tennessee baseball team look like? Who's going to be the guy in the order? Who's going to be the guy on the mound? It changes every year, right? Because these guys get drafted. So I'm going to tell you that when we return. To continue on here, this is your Tuesday morning Locked On Vols. Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. College football is back. I couldn't be more excited. The tailgates, the rivalries, the energy in the stands, and there's just nothing like it. But let's be real. Actually getting tickets can feel more like a battle than the game itself. Endless queues, hidden fees, prices jumping at checkout. That's why I use the Game Time app. It's an app that gives the advantage back to the fans. It's the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices with no surprise fees. What you see is what you pay. I pulled up the Game Time app, and in just a couple of taps, I saw amazing deals. I'm talking about your favorite college football games for as low as $25. The app made it super simple. I could even see my exact view from the seat before purchasing the ticket. I love the zone deals too. I pick the section, Game Time picks the seats for me, and we all save a whole lot of money. Honestly, it's faster, it's cheaper, and less stressful than any other way that I've bought tickets in the past. So, take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, put in the redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. That's promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download the Game Time app today. All right, guys and gals, we welcome you back in here to a Tuesday morning Locked On Vols. I am your host, Eric Cain. Thank you so much for making Locked On Vols a part of your morning routine, your first watch, your first listen. Each and every single day, a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 sports podcasting network out there. That's so freaking cool to say. So I appreciate you guys, obviously, in your help in accomplishing that. No doubt about it. We will answer your questions in the mailbag edition of the show coming up in segment number 3, but did want to touch base a little bit on Tennessee baseball. I understand that it is football season, but there's been a lot of change. There's been a lot of hectic weeks for the Tennessee baseball program, and they brought fall to a close, the fall practice window, fall ball, to a close on Sunday with the annual playing of the College World Series, the Fall World Series. Was supposed to take place at Smokey Stadium late, and what I mean by late, I mean late. Audible was called on Saturday night, and that was not the case. And so Tennessee had to come back to Lindsey Nelson and finish off the Fall World Series in that regard there. And, it's going to be a beautiful stadium, obviously. It's still under construction, but it's going to be just gorgeous when it's all said and done. But who about this team? We know Tony Vitello is not here anymore. We know Josh Elander is the head coach. We know that the staff is retained. We know that Josh Elander has hired Chuck Girolamo to come from Florida to be the associate head coach here at Tennessee. We know Ross Kivett's going to be the recruiting coordinator. We know, actually, speaking of recruiting, the National Signing Day starts tomorrow. And so a lot of these guys are going to be sending in their national letters of intent, over the course of the next couple of days for the class of 2026. But what about the team that's here? Where do we leave fall, and what does Tennessee look like leaving fall? Well, I think this is a team that is going to be contending for SEC championships, contending for a spot in Omaha, just like where this program's been the last couple of years, or really the last 5-6 years under Tony Vitello with Josh Elander, Frank Anderson, and all the guys. I don't see this team dropping off because Vitello's not here. I mean, this is a team that Tony Vitello, with the help of his staff, built. Tony Vitello had the keys to the car. Tony Vitello was going to go into game weeks and weekends and the season with this roster of guys. Of course, the Giants came calling. He's going to manage the Giants now. He turns things over to Josh Elander. So the roster is good. I think it's going to look a little bit different. I don't think there's going to be as much power. There'll still be power, don't get me wrong, but there's going to be a different look in the bullpen. I think that was intentional. They went out there and tried to get some different angles and some different looks out of the bullpen because it's something that they were lacking in previous years. Brady Frederick from ETSU, nearby Bearden High School, where he was a stud. He's coming back to Rocky Top, and he's a submarine thrower. You got a couple different arm slots that you're going to work with in the bullpen. I think on the mound, Bo Rudy from Kennesaw State is a guy that's going to play a really, really big role for Tennessee. I think Mark Hindy is going to be the lefty specialist. I think that Brandon Arvidsson is going to be your utility that can do just a little bit of everything. You look at the starting rotation, I think Teagan Kuhns is poised to take that next step. He had a really good summer in the Cape Cod League. A bit ill to begin fall, and then they shut him down towards the end, so he didn't get as much work as everybody else. But Teagan Kuhns is poised to take that next step for Tennessee, and Tennessee certainly needs him to do just that. Landon Mack, off to a slow start to begin fall, the transfer from Rutgers, but he finished really strong, and you know, you could see why he's going to be a Friday or Saturday night guy for Tennessee. Really, really talented, good pace on the mound, good pitch mix. I'm excited to see what Landon Mack does for Tennessee. And then, you know, if I were to leave fall and if I were to name, you know, a number 3 starter, I'd probably go Evan Blanco, the Virginia transfer. Man, he was the best pitcher I saw in fall. He was really good. He's got tons of experience, too. I mean, he was a starting pitcher for Virginia at the College World Series a couple years ago. He's got a ton of experience. And he changed his arm slot a little bit last year. That's what kind of went into some of his struggles, and he was injured as well. But feeling confident, and that was on full display over the fall here at Lindsey Nelson Stadium. So I think Evan Blanco is a guy that would be on the mound my pitching MVP of the fall from all that I saw. Cam Appenzeller, true freshman, certainly lived up to the hype. He's going to play a big role for Tennessee, and a lot of those freshman arms are going to be counted on the bullpen for sure. And so looking forward to what that looks like. You look at the actual players, they're all players. You look at the hitters, the offense guys, and the defense, you know, where they're going to play in the field. I think versatility is once again going to be a trademark for Tennessee. It always is, but they've got so many different guys that can play anywhere. Like I think Ariel Antigua, who had a really good, strong fall, hitting wise, kind of proved that he could hit on an everyday basis in the fall. Like if he's your shortstop, that's probably best for the team because he's easily the best glove you have. But it kind of makes things difficult trying to figure out where everybody else goes. Like, in a sense, if he was to be on your bench, it would be easier to place everybody else in the field. But, like what a problem to have. I'm not saying that's what you want. I'm saying, like, the fact that he's played himself in here and I'm probably leaving fall and he's your starting shortstop, in my opinion, that's great. But, like, what does that mean for Manny Marin? Is Manny Marin going to play short? Probably not. I mean, if Ariel's there, no. Like, is he going to play second or third? Where does Chris Newstrom fit into the mix? Is he a corner outfielder? Is he a second or third baseman? What's that look like? Henry Ford, from Virginia. He's going to be the middle of the order type guy, the biggest bat in the order. He can play corner outfield. I think that he proved over the fall that he can play third base. I only saw him make maybe 2 errors, and again, I didn't go to everything, but he played well at third. I think he went in there trying to prove that he could play the hot corner. Obviously, I think that's a more attractable, draft position than corner outfield. I think it just looks better, if you will. And just like Semo wanted to prove that he could play short, just like, Gavin Keelan wanted to prove that he could play short last year, I think Henry Ford wants to prove that he can play like a third base or anything but first base. And I think that he accomplished that. Blaine Brown is going to be a very intriguing guy on this roster. I think that he's got a sweet swing, maybe the sweetest swing of anybody on the team. He can play outfield. He's going to pitch a little bit, but that bat's going to hit probably 2 through 3 no matter what in the order. He has got a great stick. And I'm excited to see how they kind of play him in the two-way aspect, because two-way players are going to be a thing here moving forward. Roster sizes are being cut down. You have no choice. And he's one of those guys that's going to be asked to pitch some for Tennessee. Certainly, he is better at the plate than he is on the mound, and he can also play a corner outfield spot pretty well. So Blaine Brown, I was very interested in it. I was very pleased with. Levi Clark just tore the cover off the baseball this fall. I think he's poised for a really solid sophomore season, a true middle-of-the-order type bat from the right side. He's looked well. He's looked really, really well. Who else has stood out? Garrett Wright, transfer from Bowling Green. His versatility, he can play center. He can play, obviously he's a catcher, can play left. He's been impressive, especially defensively. Blake Grimmer's a guy that, I don't know. I can't find, when I'm making a lineup, and I did this exercise over at VolQuest this week, or it's going to come out this week at some point. I can't find a spot for Blake Grimmer. And it's frustrating because Blake Grimmer deserves to play. He's hit well. He's learned how to play the corner outfield, made a heck of a catch, diving head first in shallow left field to save a run in Game 3 of the Fall World Series. Like, he deserves to play on an everyday basis. I don't know if he will. Like, maybe you platoon him with, say, a Newstrom in one of the corner outfield spots. I don't know. I don't know yet. I'm not a huge believer in platooning at the college level because, again, you're not playing a true everyday look. But, like, Blake Grimmer's a guy, like, off the bench that I think can really, really help Tennessee in a massive, massive way. Who else should I highlight here? I think freshman Trent Grindlinger behind the plate proved that to the coaching staff that, like, he can play right now. I don't know how much he's going to play, but both he and even Cash Williams, a catcher, played a little bit in the corner outfields in fall. I'll tell you a freshman that I don't see getting many at bats this year, but gosh, all he did in fall was hit, and that was Hudson Chance. Hudson Chance did a fantastic job in the summer. A really good job in the fall. He hit. Did a fantastic job. And again, it's kind of crowded out there unless he just continues to tear the cover off the baseball in the winter. I don't see him playing himself into a starting role. But I do want to give a shout out to Hudson Chance because I thought that he had a fantastic fall. So long story short, I think this team is going to be versatile. I think this team is going to have power as always. I do think that there's going to be more like consistent hitting for average. And I think they're going to look different in the pen. So I thought this was a really, really good 6 weeks of fall filled with turmoil, unknowns, frustrations at times maybe with, is Tony staying? Is he leaving? Who are they going to get? Oh, they got Josh. Okay, great. Let's move on. Like, I thought it was still a very, very productive fall in that avenue for the Tennessee baseball team. So I thought they did a good job, and I'm excited to see what this team looks like in winter when they return from break after finals. And, of course, they got to finish off this semester first. Mailbag questions. All right, when we come back, where do we project Tennessee to go bowling? Like, there's bowl projections out there. What are the latest projections saying about Tennessee, where it's going to go, who it could play, all that and more? There's plenty of questions in the mailbag, and we will get to those when we return right here on your Tuesday morning. Locked On Vols. Stay tuned. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on all the action than over at FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late-game push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Not just the NBA. College basketball is here. Get in those futures, SEC champions, who's going to make the dance, Sweet 16, Final Four, Elite 8, all that and more. Get those futures in over at FanDuel Sportsbook. Head on over to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel. It's the official sports betting partner of the NBA. And as always, it's where you can make every moment more. That's FanDuel. We got a final segment left here, a couple more minutes on the Tuesday morning Locked On Vols. I am Eric Cain, and let's go ahead and jump into the mailbag and answer some of your questions. As always, couldn't thank you enough for sending in these questions, and let's jump into it. Alex wants to know, what are the latest bowl projections for the University of Tennessee? Well, I'm glad you said that because I looked over at ESPN.com at the latest projection tab and got a couple of different ones. You've got supposed to be taking on Iowa in the ReliaQuest Bowl. Of course, that game's on Wednesday, December 31st. And ReliaQuest Bowl is the old Outback Bowl. Okay, so that's in Tampa. So you got Tennessee against Iowa, according to some, in the ReliaQuest Bowl. You've got the Duke's Mayo Bowl, Tennessee and Louisville. Okay, Duke's Mayo Bowl, that will be on Friday, January the 2nd. Of course, that's in Charlotte, North Carolina. Tennessee was just there last year playing in the Duke's Mayo Classic. This is the Mayo Bowl, Tennessee versus Louisville. And there's another one. I don't have it here. I found it somewhere else. Tennessee, Nebraska in the Music City Bowl. So haven't seen one for the Gator Bowl just yet. That, of course, can change. What does Tennessee look like over the course of the next couple of weeks, over the course of Florida, and then, of course, the Vanderbilt. You'll notice if you're covering the game, I guess. If you're a fan, you won't notice. There will be representatives. There will be scouts from these bowl games that will be in attendance for Tennessee's games the rest of the way. So that's the latest on where I've seen Tennessee projected in terms of bowl games. Let's go to Jason. Jason, what gives? What happened with Legend Bey? Why did he flip? Yeah, that one's, Legend Bey's a very interesting prospect. He's very raw at his position, wide receiver, 4-star from the state of Texas. Felt like it took Tennessee a while to kind of get him committed, but was fighting off, Texas A&M. Obviously an in-state school, where he grows up in the state of Texas, and was going to come to Tennessee, and then took a visit to Ohio State, and it felt like from there, it was just kind of a matter of when he was going to flip, not if. And I think Ohio State and talking with some people are offering him the chance to play a little bit of a hybrid, like wide receiver and running back. He's listed as an athlete. He plays quarterback at his high school, but he pretty much just has the ball in his hands. And Tennessee was going to play him at wide receiver. I'm not saying it would not work at wide receiver, but I'm just saying, like, even when he was in the class, I said that's going to be a long-term project in my opinion. Like, he's a superb athlete, but he's like 5'9", however much it is. How long will it take him to grasp, the route tree and to being what it takes to be a wide receiver at this level? Maybe it would have been soon. Maybe it would have been quick. I don't know. You also have Tyreek King in this class, and I think they play the same position. Of course, Tristan Keys, Celeste Mo is also wide receiver in this class. So I was excited about him, though, because he is an athlete. And it sounds like Ohio State is giving him the opportunity to be more of an athlete. And so, it stings. Kind of a tough loss there, but it is it's how recruiting goes sometimes. We will see what Tennessee does from here. I don't necessarily think Tennessee will go and try to get another wide receiver to replace him, because you're expected to bring back the bulk of your room outside of Chris Brazzell. Now, who knows with name, image, and likeness era, the transfer portal era and all that, but you're expected to turn over to bring back your room for the most part. So I don't think it's critical to go out there and you got to find another guy to replace him in the class. But maybe this opens up, like Tennessee can go kind of all in and go get a running back, or go in and get another playmaker somewhere else. And so I do think that's interesting in that regard. But Legend Bey, that's kind of the skinny on why he flipped and went to Ohio State over Tennessee. Appreciate you, Jason. Let's go to Caleb next. Caleb, first quarterback off the bench on Saturday. Well, based on how it's been in non-conference games this year, or when Joey gets banged up for a second, it's got to come out for a play or two or whatever, it's been Jake Merklinger. So there's no reason for me to believe that Jake Merklinger will not be the second quarterback in the football game. This is assuming that Tennessee handles business and goes in there and has a big lead and they're emptying the bench, right? Feels like if you play the percentages that one of these quarterbacks will not be in the room next year, given between George McIntyre and Jake Merklinger. George McIntyre didn't play at all against UAB, and I thought that was, boy, what a miss. What a horrible coaching job on that front. Because nowadays you have to keep guys involved, keep guys engaged, show good faith, right? Like George McIntyre knows he's not QB1. But when you're up by 50 in the fourth quarter, and was it UAB? Maybe it was one of those other games. There's one of those games where he didn't get in. It's like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? So, like, that cannot happen this year or this Saturday. So, I would play George first. It's going to be Jake Merklinger, and that's fine because he is the backup quarterback. But that's kind of what I'm expecting in terms of who the first quarterback is off the bench behind Joey Aguilar. Noah, Jermod McCoy update. Where are you at? Jermod McCoy watch. We'll see what happens. They don't officially start practicing this week on the field, like officially until today. So there's no update in that regard from yesterday, but we'll see what he does. He continues to do more. He is continuing to do more and more on the practice field. He has never melded in. He has never, to my knowledge, he has never kind of just gone through the motions. I think he's been working to play this year. I always thought, if Tennessee was out of the playoff picture, does that change a guy like Jermod McCoy? But last week, I don't think that it did. So, I don't know. We'll see. If he can get out there and steal you 20 snaps or so in the swamp, man, you take that every single day of the week. That will go a long way. That will go a massively long way. He's not going to play 80 snaps at cornerback when he returns. That's just not going to happen. But if he can play 20 snaps in the Swamp, man, that'd be huge. So, we'll see if Tennessee's on McCoy watch this week, but he has been doing more at practice. We'll see if that continues this week. Last question is going to go to Pat. Why is this week so important? And I just kind of spoke on that, actually. Like, this game's kind of morphed this week, this November non-conference game and some of the non-conference games before that, not against a power opponent, the cupcake games, if you will. It's to hit a reset, allow your injuries to heal up a little bit, but also you got to show love to those young guys, because say, you like a young guy, but he doesn't play, but you think that he can play next year and you think he can really help you, play next year. You need to show him that you like him. Like, you need to show that, like, hey, we believe in you, man. Like, we have big plans for you. How do you do that? Put him in there with a first string in a game like this. You can do that. Don't wait until the fourth quarter to put them in the football game where you're just going to run the football or just whatever the case is. Like, put them in the rotation early on, because you can do that in a game like this. What's the significance of this game? Number one, get a win. Handle yourself. Be mature throughout the week. Crush them. Do what you're supposed to. Our friends over at FanDuel Sportsbook, Tennessee is a massive, massive favorite in this football game, obviously, as you knew it would be. Handle your business. Win big. But also show these young players on your roster, those that you really like and you want to count on next year. Show them where you're at. And that's a lot of what this week is, for sure. Also, you're going to the Swamp next week. Some of these veterans, some of these key players for you that need to kind of get some momentum, that kind of need to get some confidence built back in themselves. Use this game to get that confidence. Yes, it's an inferior opponent. Everybody knows that. But it still works wonders for your confidence. You go out there and you just dominate like the way you're supposed to. So I think this week is big for a number of different reasons. But honestly, and this is, no coach or no anybody around that program will tell you, like, focus on the next opponent. We're only thinking about this opponent. What you think about other things, you'll slip up. Yeah, I hear you. Like, if you did that against Mississippi State, you'd lose the game. If you did that against Arkansas, you'd lose the game. You are not going to lose the New Mexico State. So you can treat this game like what it is, an opportunity to work on what you want to work on, build your confidence, and show love to the young guys on your roster that you do not want entering the portal in January. That is going to do it here for today's edition of Locked On Vols. Can't thank you enough for being here, making Locked On Vols your first listen, your first watch each and every single morning. We are a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the number one sports podcast network out there. Congratulations to you guys for making that happen. We'll come back tomorrow. Josh Ward's going to stop in the show for a little Ward Wednesday. We'll continue to talk Tennessee football, look ahead to recruiting, all that and more coming up on a Wednesday, Locked On Vols. Until then, enjoy the rest of your Tuesday, everybody.